So Q1 equation होगा ना इधर को सॉल्व इधर जो I'm not sure कि देखें Good morning.
Good morning.
One absent. One is absent. Anushka. Oh, that good. Okay. So, are we done with this chapter? Excretory system is over.
Left.
What part are we left?
Just to start.
We haven't started. What was the last topic we discussed? Tell me.
Transportation and plants.
Transportation and plants we have discussed. Okay. Transportation and plants over. Question answers for that segment is all over. Take a fresh page. Write today's date. अरे तुम पीछे क्यों चले गए? हाँ? वहाँ पे बदमाशी करने के लिए भी बहुत कंफर्टेबल जगह है। नहीं? अभी समझ में आ जाएगा। Start in a fresh page. Write class test. Books closed. Question number 1. Question number 1. I'll give you just 5 questions. Try recollecting and answering. Number 1. What is the site of light reaction? What is the site of light reaction? In plant cells. What is the site of light reaction in plant cells? Site of light reaction in plant cells. Question mark. Go to the next question. Leave one line for the answer. Number 2. Number 2. When we consume a spoon of rice, comma, after chewing It appears to be sweet in taste. It appears to be sweet in taste. Full stop. Give a reason. 3 to 4 lines for the answer. Question number 3. 3 to 4 lines for the answer. Question number 3. Write the chemical reaction for aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Reaction for aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Come this side, come this side. Aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Four lines for the answer. Number 4. 4, 5 lines you keep. You have to write down the reactions. Number 4. What is the significance of valves? What is the significance of valves? In the heart as well as veins. In the heart as well as veins. Three, 4 lines for the answer. Last question, number 5. Last question, number 5. Name the enzyme of the pancreatic juice. Name the enzymes of the pancreatic juice. Name the enzymes of the pancreatic juice and mention their functions. And mention their functions. Sure, I'll give you 10 minutes. Try recollecting. None of the questions I gave you needs enough elaborate explanation. Either I have basic asked for an equation, I have asked for the site. These are all basic concepts to be tested. You are supposed to remember. Check how many you are able to answer. 10 minutes. Most of you have not started studying at all. Wherever possible, try answering in points. Wherever description not necessary, unnecessary, no need to describe. So write descriptions only just what is necessary. Done? Done? Yeah, this is awesome. This one a little bit more, we have to be specific. Yes. When you are describing this, what is the role of, this is wrong, should be verbs. What is the role of verbs here? Has to be more specific. Can prevent this from way to way, from way to way. That has to be specified. This, so you're writing in general. You're writing in general form. So from way to way, at least two instances you have to write. Something else, what I mean, I would write that it prevents from prevents from understanding. So it is preventing the from here to here, from here to here, so that can happen. Next, that's a total COVID. This helps in transition of what to what. This helps in digestion of what to what. This helps in digestion of what to what. Anybody done? These short tests, I will not give you so much of time, 10-15 minutes at the most. Done? And within that period, you should be able to answer. At least, when I give you 5 questions, 5 में से 4 तो आना ही चाहिए. And जब 5 में से 5 आएगा, that means you are really studying. This is enzyme that has to be mentioned. Correct? This has to be mentioned. तो ये ऐसा pure in one line. Why I give you this writing?
Actually, I didn't leave enough lines and calculated.
So ये एक proper line में properly placed होनी चाहिए. Not like this. अभी when you are talking about this organ, you have to at least write from at least echo, instance echo from next one. Or from understanding?
Okay.
You understand this?
Yes. Okay.
I've already agreed. So from here to here. Now it prevents. Clear?
Yes. Okay. So I mentioned like from there to there.
हाँ एक तो mention करना चाहिए. No?
Okay. Like
It doesn't have to put a classification of that. Who told you?
oh, biologists.
Done? ये क्या है? ये भी बहुत छोटा इसका. Equation कैसे लिखते हैं? Reaction कैसे लिखेंगे? हाँ, ये वाला check. I asked you this also. इसमें also you will write it prevents from or from जो भी दो condition थोड़ा at least write. Any two, there are four, 5 conditions. Any two you write. Specific लिखना है. This brings about the direction of what to what. What to what. What to what. Again, this also the same one he also wrote. So where did you learn this? That this helps in this process. वहाँ से एक ही book पढ़ते हो, एक ही guide book पढ़ते हो या दो. Then how come you both do the same answer which is wrong? कौन सा book में है देखो? Which book is mentioning that? Done? Last 2-3 minutes. Now I'll not give you any more time. Enough. 10 minutes enough for answering these 5 questions. What about this side? How many done? 3 done. The rest do you know? Don't remember.
Like that. I don't know it ways.
So this for breaking down this. And what are you writing? Okay. So here actually I gave you the specific steps. Oh, yeah, that way you have to write. Meaning, steps. Here they are just writing in general. No, breakdown of this. This to what? Here in your book they are only mentioning the addition of this. The addition of this to what? The addition of this to what? The addition of what form of this to what? Yes, it is. Yes. Done this side? Chalo, now I will have to discuss the answers with you. Check the rest of you. Only 3-4 of you could show me your answers. Rest now check what answers you have written. Let us start, discuss. I discuss the answers, you check for yourself whether you have written those points. Those points, those concepts are written. You put a tick for your answer. Wherever there is not there, you have to fill it. Correct your answers for yourself now. I start here. First question. What is the first question?
What is the size of light reaction in plant cells?
Site of light reaction, what will you write?
Light in chloroplast.
Site of light reaction. मतलब light reaction कहाँ पे हो रहा है? Light reaction where is it happening? Chloroplast. What are the 2 regions of chloroplast we studied?
Chlorophyll.
Grana and stroma. तो अभी लाइट रिएक्शन कहाँ पे हो रहा है? Grana of chloroplast. What is the site of light reaction? Grana of chloroplast. Dark reaction, stroma of chloroplast.
Light reaction is photosynthesis.
The entire thing is photosynthesis. Where? What is the site of photosynthesis? Then you can write chloroplast.
And you had given that mesophil is the
That is the cell types. That I taught you extra. The cells may come, may not come, because the type of cells is not mentioned in your NCERT. Mesophil cells is nowhere mentioned in your NCERT book. But some of your schools, some of your teachers will teach. So that's why I mentioned that. Because that you are actually supposed to know as a 10th standard student which cells are undergoing the process of photosynthesis. Mesophil cells, inside the mesophil cells, the chloroplast, inside the chloroplast, grana and stroma.
Ma'am, so we have to mention photosynthesis or not?
If the question is, what is the site of photosynthesis in a plant cell? Chloroplast. What is the site of photosynthesis? What is the light reaction? Site for light reaction or photosynthesis? Then you have to specify because pura chloroplast is not showing light reaction. Grana of chloroplast. What is the site for dark reaction? Stroma of chloroplast. Yes. Understood. Done? All of you have written? Next.
When we consume a spoon of rice after chewing, it appears to be sweet in taste. Give a reason. Fermentation.
What you wrote?
After consuming a spoon of rice, it appears to be sweet in taste because it is fermented for a while in water and before serving.
अगर फर्मेंटेशन हमारे मुंह के अंदर होता तो एक दूसरा तो बैटर हम मुंह में लेके बैठे रहते। नो
Rice rich in carbohydrate, it is a form of starch which is later broken down into simple sugar.
सिंपल शुगर का नाम क्या है? सिंपल शुगर का एक नाम है, we had learned that.
Sucrose.
मैंने अभी सच में बताने वाली हूँ। नहीं,
Maltose.
That results in a sweet taste.
हाँ, maltose is sweet in taste. I repeatedly told you, starch has no taste. Starch has no, it is just tasteless. But the maltose and the fructose and the lactose, they have got a taste. When you drink milk, it is slightly sweet. When you eat fruits, why it's sweet? Why? They don't contain starch. But potato, just take a slice of potato, put it in your tongue. It has no taste. Starch. Starch is not sweet. Other forms of carbohydrate, simpler forms of carbohydrate, always sweet. Go to the third.
Write the chemical reaction of aerobic and anaerobic respiration.
Aerobic बताओ से.
Aerobic बताओ. 2C2H5OH plus 2H2O.
Aerobic.
Oh, sorry. CO2 plus H2O gives us plus 38.
What is in this?
No, sorry.
Aerobic respiration में क्या है? Reactants क्या है? Products. Reactants क्या है? Aerobic respiration में what is the reactant? What is the product you are talking about breaking down?
And hydrogen and oxygen.
Aerobic respiration में what is getting broken down? Now I'm going to call your parents. अगर ये हाल रहा, I'm finishing with the first chapter. देखो हालत, कोई मतलब नहीं है. मेरा तो गाना खत्म हो जाएगा in another 2 months फिर. Then standard, right from the first day I'm telling you थोड़ा थोड़ा बढ़ते रहो. And this type of test, mock test, I will give you anytime. Anytime, 5-10 minutes, 10 minutes करके 5 mark का 5 questions I will give you anytime. So you have to keep yourself prepared. Otherwise it makes no sense. I finish, पूरा portion खत्म हो गया, and after that you are not able to do write proper answers. You are not able to answer 3 questions. कोई मतलब है क्या? Aerobic respiration. What is the equation? What are you supposed to write on the left hand side? Tell me. And
H2.
aerobic respiration में what is happening? What do you know about aerobic respiration? See, I thought 10 minute का revision लेके I will start. लग रहा है इसमें जाएगा पूरा. What did you understand by aerobic respiration? What is happening? What is happening in aerobic respiration?
Ma'am, glucose in presence of oxygen is getting broken down into carbon dioxide, water, and 38 ATP molecules of energy.
It बहुत difficult है. बहुत difficult है to remember. Write that correct there in your answer. Correct करो. Now next, anaerobic respiration. What is happening in anaerobic respiration? Tell me. He's not looking only at me. What is anaerobic respiration? Anaerobic respiration में क्या लिखना क्या है? What is happening in anaerobic respiration में equation मैंने पूछा है, reaction मैंने पूछा है, क्या लिखना है? You have not started studying at all.
Anaerobic. In anaerobic respiration, organisms do not require oxygen. So,
अरे history नहीं है ये. This is science, please. Why you are starting from upper every time? Equation पूछा गया है. Write down the equation of anaerobic respiration. क्या लिखोगे?
carbon dioxide
लेफ्ट हैंड साइड पे क्या लिखना है मुझे? एनारोबिक रेस्पिरेशन का इक्वेशन मुझे लिखना है. So if I have to write down the reaction for anaerobic respiration, यहाँ पे मैं क्या लिखूं? यहाँ पे मैं क्या लिखूं? यहाँ पे क्या लिखूं?
कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड CO2
ग्लूकोज मतलब फ्रंट साइड.
अरे रुको ना.
इक्वेशन बोल.
हाँ, यहाँ पे क्या लिखना है? लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में क्या लिखना है?
2C2H5OH plus 2H.
Anaerobic respiration. What do you understand? क्या समझा क्या? What is anaerobic respiration? What did you understand?
Breakdown of glucose takes place in the absence of oxygen.
Correct. तो अभी यहाँ पे क्या लिखना है?
Glucose.
हाँ. और कुछ लिखना है? ऑक्सीजन लिखना है? तब तो ये एरोबिक हो गया. और कुछ नहीं लिखना है. अब यहाँ पे क्या लिखना है? इस तरह what to write?
Energy.
सिर्फ
2 ATP
and
plus 2H2O.
और मेन प्रोडक्ट क्या है? इथेनॉल. यहाँ पे सिर्फ ग्लूकोज एंड यहाँ पे इथेनॉल.
Water and 2 ATP molecules energy.
That's it. कंप्लीट करो. Children, you'll have to find out time and devote time for every subject. ऐसा नहीं चलेगा. End of May, one big chapter is over, but not satisfactory at all. Number one, nobody has a question. That as it is means that you have not started studying. Nobody has a question. Nobody has a question. मैं अगर यहाँ पे आके out of the syllabus भी शायद कुछ पढ़ा के चली जाओ, nobody will be able to find out also that अरे मैम आपने क्या पढ़ाया? That's not in the syllabus. Nobody is aware. You have to start now. It is high time. May end है, मतलब a 10th standard student should start now. थोड़ा पढ़ो. What is the problem? You are no more in the 6th and the 7th. Exam का schedule आएगा, then mother will sit with you and then you will start. तब 70% से आगे कुछ मिलेगा ही नहीं. Take my words. If you have come here to get some big heavy marks, so you have to do the hard work. Hard work के बिना नहीं होने वाला. We don't have any capsule to give you. चल बेटा ये ले ले and then 95 sure है. No, I don't have. So these are typical concepts I had asked you. I did not ask you any 3-mark explanatory points. I did not ask you that. Chalo, you understand. You must have enough time for revision and reading. These are basic concepts. Anytime anaerobic, what is anaerobic respiration? This. That you should know. What is the enzyme in the stomach and what is its role? That you should know. What is the enzyme in the mouth and what is its role? That you should know. ये तो basic है. This is basic. Next, let us complete. Next, कौन सा है? Next question.
What is the significance of valves and hearts as well as
In the veins. हाँ. क्या
In
लिखना
the
है?
veins, it prevents the backflow of the blood. In heart, it prevents the mixing of the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood.
Okay, very good. And also in the heart, also it is preventing the backflow of the blood from the right ventricle to right auricle, pulmonary artery to right ventricle. So from one part to the other, it is constantly preventing the backflow and preventing also the mixing. So mixing of the blood से ज़्यादा backflow पे stress देना है when you are writing down the answer. So there are various conditions. Backflow from where to where? Right ventricle to right auricle backflow नहीं हो सकता because of tricuspid. Pulmonary artery से right ventricle नहीं हो सकता because of pulmonary semilunar. Left ventricle से left auricle नहीं हो सकता because of bicuspid. And aorta से left ventricle नहीं हो सकता because of aortic semilunar. So 4 conditions are there. At least 2 you should be writing in your answer. The valves in the heart also prevent the backflow of the blood. That is from here to here because of this valve. From here to here because of this valve. So at least basic tricuspid valve, bicuspid valve का तो लिखना ही चाहिए in your answer. Okay. You are coming here, you are studying extra, so many extra things we are teaching you. I think we all teachers, we are teaching little bit beyond the syllabus so that your answers that you write should be better than the rest. But for that, if you don't put in effort and if you don't read and revise a number of times, then your answers will be as general as quite a number of your classmates in the class. Then how are you expecting better marks? ये नहीं होने वाला है. Just coming to this place, we don't have any black magic कि यहाँ पे आ जाओ and then marks are assured. यहाँ पे आने का एक ही मतलब है, how are children able to get that 95 and 97? Because we give the correct methods, कैसे पढ़ना है, क्या लिखना है, कैसे लिखना है. So वो you have to remember what we told you, how we told you, and you have to devote time. Again, I repeat my sentence, end of May, by the first week of June, seriously, you have to start. Plan out seriously, meaning I am not saying that 10 hours padho. No, 10 CBSE children, if all throughout the day, just 3 hours also, if you study seriously, enough hai. Your syllabus is just this much. If I compare your syllabus with the 10th ICSE, they are studying this much, and you are studying this much only. But still, why the problem with you all? Because till the month of July, September, October, tak you all just remain relaxed because school mein pressure nahi rehta hai. School will wake up one fine day in the month of September and October. And if you go along with that flow, it will be difficult for you. So please remember, now here, we are already done with this big chapter. Your school must be still in the first part or the second part. So what is the objective? You have done till here. So are you going to go with the pace of your school? No, you keep reading. You keep preparing. Then only it will be better for you. You are confident. You try solving all questions in the module. That is how children are. Children who have scored 99 and 100 in the subjects, that is my experience. That is what we have done and we have told our children. They would always solve extra what we have done in the class. They would solve extra. Volume के जितने questions है, almost about 60% questions I solve in the class. जो भी बाकी बचा है, that is your job. You'll have to go through all the questions. क्या मुझे ये सारे answers आता है? जो नहीं आता है, next time I have to go and ask the teacher. अब तक nobody had asked me anything. So that is very clear that you all have not started studying at all. So alert ho jao. You are still not very thorough with the small concepts also. If you want to go confident for your exams, you know all before your pre-boards. By December, by November, you should be thorough, and for that, you have to revise every particular chapter minimum 4 to 5 times. तो उसके लिए, if you start by the month of September, possible है. So many subjects. Definitely, I think SST is having the maximum load for you all. So that way, you will have to plan out all the subjects. How do I do? That is absolutely for a 10th standard student. Like in one of the batches, I asked them, are you able to plan with the time? No, ma'am, we are not able to plan with the time. Only 2 girls told me, no, ma'am, it's comfortable. So it is possible. It is only how you are able to do it. Okay? And some of you are very relaxed, coming, going. I'm not saying that you are just 14, 15. I'm not telling you that. Sara din ghar pe baith ke padho. No, I also never did that. I'm not telling you that. I'm saying priority choose karo. Now 4 to 5 hours I have to study. Holiday hai. Jab school khulegi and then full rush, hardly you will get 2 hours to study, 3 hours to study. Usse zyada milega nahi. So plan out. So let us start now. Are we done with all the questions? Did we last kya bacha hai? Enzymes of the pancreatic juice and the functions I told you. The first enzyme is trypsin. If you write trypsin, first function, function you'll have to write. So many of you wrote trypsin helps in digestion of proteins. Note that the pepsin का भी तो कोई function है. Trypsin helps in digestion of partially digested proteins लिखो या तो peptones लिखो, which I have given you specifically. Digestion of peptones and long peptides to smaller peptides. Amino acids nahi, amino acids is later. Trypsin does not convert them to amino acids straight away. So you can write a simpler way. Complex peptides to smaller peptides. ऐसे भी लिख सकते हो. Peptones to peptides ऐसे भी लिख सकते हो.
Reaction of trypsin will get smaller.
Small peptides, correct. Next is lipase. Breaks down. Lipase.
It breaks down small fat globules into even smaller ones.
Simpler ones. So I gave it that way, or else you can write emulsified fats to simpler fat molecules, simpler fat globules. Yes. So emulsified fats, complex fat molecules to simpler forms. This is a general way. Third, lipase. Amylase. Amylase will break down carbohydrates to maltose, starch to maltose. Correct? Now let us start with this concept. Let us start with the concept of excretory system in human. We talk about excretory system in human. Excretory system, now that we are talking about with reference to the human excretory system, we are talking about excretory system in human. Now, the first thing is, what is the definition of excretion? What is the definition of excretion? Excretion can be defined with reference to what key term? So, if I have to talk about excretion, what is the definition of excretion? The definition of excretion is the process of removal of the nitrogenous waste substances. Now, this is a word that you'll have to always use. Excretion is what? It is the process by which the process of release, that way also you can write. It is the process of release of toxic nitrogenous waste substances, toxic nitrogenous waste substances, toxic nitrogenous waste substances from the body by filtration of the blood, by filtration of the blood. We have done the diagram of the herd? Yes. We have done, no? Last class. Okay. What is the definition of excretion? The concept of excretion, whenever you write certain terms that you have to remember, process of release of toxic waste substances by the release of nitrogenous waste substances. Now, which are the nitrogenous waste substances that we have to think of? What type of nitrogenous waste substances we are talking about? Nitrogenous waste substances are what?
Urea.
Yes, urea, uric acid. And now that I talk about the urea and the uric acid, how are they formed? Where are they formed? They are formed by the breakdown of the amino acid. They are formed by the breakdown of the amino acid in the liver. They are formed by the breakdown of amino acid in the liver. So this has to be remembered. So when we are talking about the nitrogenous waste, which are the primary nitrogenous wastes of our body? Most toxic components in our body which has to be removed, cannot be retained in the blood for a long period of time. So here we are talking about two most important ones. Two most important. So now that we are talking about the uric acid, urea and uric acid, where are they formed? Remember, are this urea and uric acid formed in the kidneys? No, they are formed in the liver. They are formed in the liver. The liver is a major site where the toxic substances are formed. So I start this way. What is the definition of Excretion. Remember, the release of waste substances by the way of the large intestine, that is not excretion at all. That is called what? Egestion. That is called egestion. Do you remember we had studied ingestion and digestion, and digestion की बात क्या है?
Assimilation,
Absorption, assimilation, egestion. So ये है proper process there. Now I am talking about by the way of the kidneys, what is happening? The filtration of the blood. By the process of filtration of the blood by the kidneys and the throwing out of the nitrogenous waste substance, that is what is known as excretion. Okay. So what type of substances has to be thrown out? Nitrogenous waste substances, majorly what? Urea, uric acid. Where are they formed? Liver. By the breakdown of excess amino acids which are constantly deposited by the way of assimilation in the liver cells. Now, if this is a concept, then what are some of the organs of excretion? The organs of excretion, the first one that I talk about would be the kidneys. Kidneys are the primary organs of excretion. For us, we are terrestrial organisms. So for us, terrestrial organisms, kidneys, and we are developed mammals also at the same time. So kidneys are the primary organs for excretion. But what are the two major functions of the kidney to always remember? Two major functions of the kidneys: filtration of the blood, the process of filtration of the blood and the release of the toxic waste substances, nitrogenous waste substances. And next is, in the process of filtration of the blood and the releasing of the waste substances, another function happens simultaneously, that is the maintenance of the salt and water balance. Maintenance of salt and the water balance of the blood. Maintenance of the salt and water balance of the blood, a process known as osmoregulation. Maintenance of salt and water balance in the blood, जो simultaneous process है, and this is what is known as osmoregulation. So what are the two functions of the kidney? This is what you'll have to remember. The two major functions of the kidney are, number one, filtration of the blood, which is happening in specialized structures known as the kidneys, known as the nephrons inside the kidneys, and simultaneously one more process that happens, and that is maintenance of the salt and the water balance. Let us talk about some other organs of excretion. We want to know, are there any other organ for excretion in our body? Though we know that kidneys are the major organ, kidneys are the vital organs for excretion, but apart from the kidneys, are there anything else? Are there any other organ which helps in the process of excretion? Lungs. How lungs? Because they are constantly helping in the process of release of the carbon dioxide by the process of diffusion. So yes, the lungs also can be considered as excretory structures. What next? Can we talk about the skin as an organ for excretion? Yes, because the skin has got what? Sweat glands, and this sweat glands release what? Watery substance, sweat. And talking about the composition of the sweat, there are traces of urea. Urea is there in small amount, so that's the reason the skin is also known to have an excretory role. But these are accessory organs, additional organs, which also to some extent result in the release of the waste substances. Lastly, we talk about what? Huh? What is it? No. Intestine, you said? Intestine, मैंने क्या बोला? Intestine is not at all associated with excretion. Whenever we talk about excretion, it is always the liquid waste of our body. It is always by the process of filtration of the blood. So, by the way of the intestine, that is always digestion. Go absolutely differently. Liver. What is the role of liver? How did we understand that liver can also have a excretory function? Yes, because liver is the major organ which helps in formation of urea. Just now I mentioned formation of urea by the breakdown of the amino acid. So liver can very well be considered as a excretory, to have an excretory role. One more function of the liver you have studied with reference to nutrition. What is that? The formation of the bile pigments. Formation of bile pigments. Do you remember? Formation of bile pigments by the breakdown of hemoglobin. Formation of bile pigments by the breakdown of hemoglobin. So now that we are talking about the formation of bile pigments by the breakdown of the hemoglobin, if this is also why the liver is considered as an excretory organ. So why is liver considered as an excretory organ? A point significant. Because the liver very much helps in the formation of the urea, the liver very much helps in the formation of the bile pigments by the breakdown of the hemoglobin. The red blood cells which get deposited in the liver, उनका जो hemoglobin होता है, the hemoglobin gets broken down to this bile pigments. And if I have to talk little bit about bile pigments के साथ, what is the relation? The bile pigments will again get broken down to some other simpler pigments. And this pigment that I am talking about is responsible for the color of the liquid wastes of our body, and that is the color of the urine that we are talking about, the light yellowish color. So that also is getting formed in the liver. That also is getting formed in the liver. Now ये pigment का भी एक नाम है, but I'm not talking about that right now. So just now you understand this formation of the urea. That's the reason liver can be considered as an excretory organ, and formation of those simpler pigments which are responsible for the color of the urine. How the lungs and how the skin can also be considered as an excretory organ, definitely to remember. Of course, now, as per the syllabus, we are going to study more about the kidneys and the excretory structures. The kidneys and the excretory structures that we are going to understand is here, the excretory system in the human body. Let's just try to understand the system first, then we talk about the parts functions. Where is this system present? So if I talk about the excretory system is present where? This entire system that I am talking about is present where? Present on the dorsal side of our body. These two organs that I am talking about, the kidneys, where are they present? They are present on either side of the vertebral column, just above the hip. They are present on either side of the vertebral column, and these are in the shape of something like a rajma bean, it looks like. Curved from outside and depressed from inside. So this is the convex and this is the concave side that we are talking about, the kidneys. So this particular, that's the reason the rajma beans are also known as the kidney beans. Similarity of the shape it is. So when we are talking about the structure of the kidneys, these are structures made up of muscles and variety of structures all made up of smooth muscles. So when I say smooth muscles, you understand the movement and the contraction all would be involuntary. From these kidneys arise narrow tube-like structures. What are these tube-like structures? Known as ureter. So a pair of ureter we are talking about. From each kidneys, one ureter emerging out, and both the ureters will start again moving towards the front at the abdominal, the lower abdominal region. And at the lower abdominal region, this particular structure, the bag-like structure known as the urinary bladder, is almost at the ventral side of our body. So this urinary bladder will open to the outside with the help of some small broad tube-like structure, and this is known as the urethra. So what are the parts I have been talked about? I am talking about a pair of kidneys. I am talking about a pair of ureter. I am talking about a single urinary bladder and a short tube known as urethra. So what are the parts of the excretory system? A pair of this, a pair of ureter, one single bladder, one single urethra. So now that we are talking about the function of each of these parts, what is the function of each of these parts? I already told you what is the function of this. What is the function of the kidney? Filtration of the blood, the most important function. Most important function, what to write? What is this doing? Filtration of the blood. Now, filtration of the blood to produce what? To produce urine, the liquid wastes of our body. Now, filtration of the blood to produce urine, and this urine will be carried by the ureter and dropped here. So, what is the function of the ureter? You write passage of the urine from the kidney to the bladder. What is the function of the bladder? Temporary storage of the urine. But this temporary storage of the urine and the release of the urine from the bladder is again under the nervous control, controlled by the brain, I should say. Controlled by the brain. In the brain, there are various centers which regulate parts and functions of our body parts. So this entire bladder, when it is roughly filled, what will happen? There are some set of muscles here on the inner wall of the urethra, on the inner wall of the urethra. See here, it's mentioned sphincter muscles. Can you see? It's mentioned sphincter muscles. So what are these sphincter muscles? So when I talk about these sphincter muscles are something like the valves, try to understand. Not exactly structurally like the valves, but just like the valves, they can contract, relax. So when I draw the diagram, I'll show you. Here on the inner wall of the urethra, there are some set of valves, set of muscles, smooth muscles, and these muscles can relax and contract. When will they relax? When the bladder is empty. When will they contract and make a pathway? When the bladder is roughly full. So the release of the urine by the way of the urethra is under the nervous control, under the regulation of the brain, and the muscle contracting and relaxing from time to time. So that is about the system. I talk about the entire structure of the kidney, and I'm saying that inside the kidney, look into the section of the kidney. How do they look like? Look into the section of the kidney, the entire kidney looks like this. Talk about the longitudinal section of the kidney, it looks like this, where the blood is entering, the blood is coming out, and a process of filtration is happening here. All the parts I'm not going to discuss right now. I'm only saying that look into this. These two words definitely you should know. Are you able to mark in this figure that the outer region of the kidney is appearing a little bit darker? The inner region of the kidney is appearing lighter. So this outer region of the kidney which is appearing darker, this is known as the cortex. The inner region of the kidney which is lighter is known as the medulla. Only these two words to know. The outer region of the kidney is always darker because it is packed up with certain structures. I'll tell you what are those. And the inner structures of the kidney is comparatively lighter. This region is known as the medulla. This region is known as the cortex. Third thing to understand, I said, what is the function of the kidney? Filtration of the blood. So if the function of the kidney has to be filtration of the blood, then definitely a large amount of blood should go into the kidney. Then which are the blood vessels which will carry the blood into the kidney? And which are the blood vessels which will carry the blood away from the kidney? So the blood vessels which are carrying the blood towards the kidney should be an artery or a vein? Artery. And all arteries arise from which major artery of the body?
Aorta.
Aorta. All arteries of the body arise from the aorta. So now, if I have to look into that, yes, there are some arteries by the way of which the blood is entering, but the kidney performs the job of filtration of the blood. And just now I'm saying that the blood which will enter the kidney is by the way of an artery. What is the nature of the blood in an artery? Oxygenated. We say oxygenated blood is pure blood. Then what is the need for purification? What is the need for the filtration here? The blood is never mind oxygenated, rich in oxygen, but now we are not talking about oxygen, carbon dioxide. Now we are saying the blood which is entering the kidney, never mind it is oxygenated, it is rich with nitrogenous base, and this nitrogenous base has to be filtered. So the blood which is coming out of the kidney is an artery or a vein? It's a vein. And this vein will go and join with other veins of the body and form the big broad veins of the body. Which broad vein I am talking about? Which broad vein I am talking about which will carry the blood back to the heart again? Vena cava. So now when we are talking about this, the vena cava, you have to understand the relation. So I am talking about the aorta, artery, one specific artery, we'll learn the names. Artery, take the blood to the kidney, back by the way of some veins, go and join to form the vena cava. So that is the relation, let us see here. The supply of blood to the kidneys, that is the next thing you have to understand. We'll talk about the functions of the parts of the excretory system. Just now I mentioned this. that functions of the parts of the excretory system. Say suppose you are asked, write down the function of the, what is the function of the ureter? Differentiate ureter and the urethra. What will you write? Differentiate urethra and the ureter. Ureter are tubes which connect the kidney and the bladder. Carry the urine from the kidney and the bladder. Urethra, what does it do? Release the urine outside the body. So that is the function. So functions, if I have to talk about what are the parts of the excretory system. Parts of the excretory system, I said, a pair of kidneys. A pair of kidneys, I gave you what are the function of the kidneys. Number 2, I talk about a pair of ureter. A pair of ureter. A pair of ureters. Just put a point here and write that. What is the function of the ureter? Just now I mentioned. Passage of the urine from kidney to the bladder. Passage of urine from kidney to bladder.
And we can survive with just one kidney.
Yes, but with a lot of care. Passage of urine from kidney to the urinary bladder. To the urinary bladder. Okay. Third is what? The urinary bladder. Third is the urinary bladder. Now that I am talking about the urinary bladder, what is the function of the urinary bladder? Temporary storage of the urine. The function is temporary storage of the urine. The fourth is the urethra. What is the function of the urethra? The function of the urethra is release of urine. Yes, release of urine from the body. Release of urine from the body. Okay. So now that I talk about the parts, the functions. What are the 4 parts I mentioned? The 4 parts are the kidneys, the ureter, the bladder, and the urethra. Now, talking about the blood supply, because we are saying that the function of the kidney is filtration of the blood. So, which are the blood vessels which are going to the kidneys? What happened? You look so sad. What happened? Huh? All okay? Stress hai? Stress nahi hai na? What happened? You are not that energetic today. Huh? और बाकी books कहाँ गए आज? है books? Love to study. I don't know how many of you love to study. मुझे अगर किसी ने option दिया तो मैं सारा दिन रात पढ़ती रहूँ बैठ. How many of you love to study? No, I hate you all. किसी को पढ़ाई अच्छा नहीं लगता है?
Dependent subject. Dependent subject.
अच्छा तो biology इसलिए पसंद नहीं है.
What's that?
हाँ इसीलिए पढ़ाई go to study. हाँ
Need to go through bio.
Need to go through bio. Need to go through everything.
Not specifically. I need to go through bio specifically.
तो bio का पढ़ाई क्या है? Last option है. Okay. Now, when we are talking about the blood supply, let us talk about the blood supply. Blood supply to the kidney. That is very important. We'll have to remember the names of the tubes. To talk about the names of the tubes, always start with the heart. So I will talk about with the heart. From the heart, which is that major vessel, major artery, aorta. The aorta will divide into large number of arteries. Now, specifically, I talk about the artery which will carry blood to the kidney. What is that artery called? Renal artery. Again, we are going to talk about the branch of the renal artery later. So, पहले ये सीखेंगे. Heart gives away a major artery, the broadest artery of the body, the largest artery of the body. Aorta. Aorta arises from which ventricle?
The right ventricle.
No.
Aorta carries what type of blood? Which side of the heart has oxygenated blood?
Left.
So aorta will always arise from the left ventricle. Aorta will always arise from the left ventricle. Okay? So now that we are talking about the heart, gives rise to aorta. Aorta carrying or aorta gets divided to a large number of arteries. Right now we are talking about only the ones which will go to the kidneys. Aorta divides into hundreds of arteries giving blood to the liver, giving blood to the muscles and the bones and the pancreas and the intestine and every part of the body. Right now we are talking about only one artery, the renal artery. From the renal artery, the blood now goes to the kidneys. From the renal artery, the blood now goes to the kidneys. What is the nature of the blood? We will talk about this later. From the kidneys, the blood is now coming out and entering into a set of veins. Which are these veins? Renal veins. From the renal vein or the renal veins will go and unite with so many other veins of the body and result in the formation of major veins of the body known as vena cava. This vena cava will again carry deoxygenated blood to the heart. Now, the concept of oxygenated and deoxygenated, I hope you are already clear when I talk about the relation of the heart and the lungs. Relation of the heart and the lungs. From the heart, pulmonary artery to the lungs. The blood in the pulmonary artery is deoxygenated, go to the lungs, get purified, and from the lungs, which vessel? Pulmonary vein, and back to which chamber of the heart? Left auricle. So that is the relation when I talk about heart and lungs. But here now what? With the kidney. Heart and the kidney relation kya hai? Heart, aorta, renal artery, kidneys, renal vein, vena cava. Now what is the nature of the blood in the renal artery then? The nature of the blood in the renal artery, it's an artery, so definitely oxygenated hai. But now we are going to talk about here the concentration of urea is very high. So it has got high urea concentration. Abhi kidney mein what is supposed to happen? Filtration. Filtration of what? Filtration of this. So what is the nature of the blood in the renal vein? Less urea concentration. Clear hai? The blood, urea is a nitrogenous base substance. I wrote here. If I talk about the composition of urea, carbon, hydrogen, बहुत सारा nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen से compounds formed of these elements, but the nitrogenous content is much higher. Our tissues very much require nitrogen, but when the nitrogen content is too much, our blood starts becoming poisonous, toxic. So that's the reason this nitrogenous content has to be released from the blood, released from the body as soon as possible. So now, what is the difference? If I talk about right two differences between renal artery, renal vein, what are you supposed to understand? Renal artery carries blood towards the kidney. Renal vein carries blood away from the kidney. Renal artery carries blood which has high urea concentration. Renal vein carries blood which has low urea concentration. Here you will write down this difference, make a table and write down this difference on your own. 2 points, make a table, difference between renal artery, renal vein. If this part is clear, then understanding the process when I teach you, it will be very simple. Difference, make a table, difference between renal artery, renal vein, all of you will write down these functions. 1 mark functions you are asked, you should be very clear to write. Differentiate renal artery, renal vein. Tomorrow also you have got morning lecture? Today last? So tomorrow you can see.
Ma'am, I feel I am a potential doctor after this.
Ma'am,
I feel I am a potential doctor after.
so nice, no? You don't have to go for MBBS. You can tell so many things to your parents, your siblings. सबका siblings है कि और single child? How many of you have siblings? So you can at least tell your siblings something or the other about the heart and the lungs. I don't know. तो cousins होते होंगे ना, friends होते होंगे ना,
हमारे में प्रेशर एक सैंडरी गुड से चलते
What is she saying? Okay, chalo. Then after renal,
There are some instances like urethral block, so bladder is always full. Then what comes?
Then there are certain type of various type of treatments. One of the type of treatments is that if in the sonography this is understood, then there are certain type of injections, chemical components introduced. The blockage may be because of some deposits in the urethral tube or in the urinary bladder or in the kidney stones or etc. something. Then first is that this type of substances will be tried to be dissolved by various different type of chemical substances. उससे भी नहीं हो रहा है surgery. Kidney stones are यही जो मैंने अभी mention किया है. There are many more. When I talk about the deposits of uric acid is so much, uric acid is so much, and apart from that also there are so much. Creatinine is there, calcium oxalate, calcium compounds are there. So if the deposition is too much in different parts of the kidney or in the tubule or in the bladder, then a person may have painful urination. Painful urination is the first symptom to understand that there is something wrong in the excretory system. So this stones deposits in progressive time, they become a little bit harder. That will not happen in just one day or 1 month, that will happen over a period of years. So in the entire structure of the
Months or years?
years. Months may be itna develop nahi hota, it is in years. And then they will get deposited. Why should that happen in an individual's body? Improper food habit, improper lifestyle, insufficient amount of fluid intake. So all these may be the reasons. And treatments are varied nowadays. Treatments in the form of some fluid, injections, and the last step would be surgery.
Last step would be surgery, not the first.
No.
Is there any age group for
Nothing to do. Today, 5-year-old is also having kidney stones. Earlier, we always came across the concept of 3 generations back, 2-3 generations back, the concept of kidney stones and hypertension is always age related. Only a person who is 60 years and 50 plus only can suffer from all this. Today, we come across majorly the children are suffering from this. Improper food habit and improper lifestyle. Improper lifestyle. The balance is not there. The balance is not there. So, even if
ultrasound is also used?
sonography, ultrasound is the only thing how the internal parts and the looks can be understood.
Last year, ultrasound was used to destroy.
Ultrasound doesn't destroy what?
I mean, it was mentioned that it breaks the stones.
No, ultrasound is not for breaking stones. Ultrasound is only for understanding the different organs and their structure internally to understand. But there are various techniques with which they can insert certain type of chemical substances. They can insert fluids inside the body, which can clear up. Quite a number of times, certain type of flushes are introduced, and they may clear out, dissolve, and flushed out from the body if the stones are small. But quite a number of times, there are specific sizes. Now, sizes means, am I talking about a size something like 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters? No, I'm talking about the size in millimeters. The tubules in our body has got diameter nothing more than 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter, 4 millimeters. So if a stone or something is, or a deposit something is little bit like 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, that is also a very good reason why blockage should happen in our body. So the tubule diameter in our body is always, will come across it is 4 millimeter, 5 millimeter, 6 se zyada kabhi nahi hota. It's not in meters. Most of the time it's not in centimeters also. Just few tubes are in centimeters, otherwise. Now, let us talk about this after the blood supply. So, we will have to remember, we were talking about the difference between the renal artery and the renal vein. The first point to write, did you write the first point? What is it? The first point, from where to where the blood carries blood towards the kidney. The second point you will write, carries blood away from the kidney. The second point you will write, has high concentration of urea, low concentration of urea. So, these are the 2 points to remember. Now, we try understanding. the rest of the structure. The rest of the structure, I was telling you that look into the internal structure of the kidney. When we look into the internal structure of the kidney, how does the kidney appear? It appears that as if it has two clearly demarcated regions. And which are the two clearly demarcated regions? The cortex and the medulla. The cortex and the medulla. So now that we are talking about the cortex and the medulla, here in the cortex and the medulla, we come across that if we talk about the section of the kidney this way, and just now I mentioned that there are two distinct regions, the cortex and the medulla. So look into the cortex region, magnified. This cortex region which is magnified appears that there are some dot-like structures, granular structures all over. High magnification shows this, that as if there are some dotted structures all over the cortex, so dense and so packed up. That is one reason why the outer region of the kidney looks darker. Apart from that, the blood supply. So what are these structures that we are talking about? The entire structure of the kidney, I said there are some tubular arrangements here all over. That is the medullary region we have to understand. Then what are these? This is what we are going to study now. Let me just talk about one of these granular structures with magnified. The granular structures are something like this. They have got a head-like structure like this. And this head-like structure is followed by a tubular structure long. And this tubular structure long goes down till the medulla and again comes up till the cortex and ends up in some long bristle-like structures. What is this entire structure known as? And how many of them are there in one kidney? In millions. What are these entire fine long thread-like structures with a globular head? What are these structures known as? These structures are known as the nephrons. How do we define nephrons? The structural and the functional unit of the kidney. Why? Because they are present in hundreds and hundreds. And they are having the same basic structure, all of them performing the same function. Similar kind of structures you have come across where in the lungs. What is the structural and the functional unit of the lungs known as? Alveolus. Alveolus. So what was that? Alveolus, same structure, same function. So that's why structural and functional unit. Here we are talking about the nephrons also, known to have the same structure. In millions they are present in a kidney. This is the structure that I am talking about. The nephrons, the structure of the nephrons we are going to study later. The structure of the nephrons, this is how a nephron would look like. How are they present? This is along with the blood vessels. How are they, where are they present? They are all present in the kidney, internal structure, starting from the cortex, going down to the medulla and again. So this is the structure that we are talking about, the nephron. We'll learn parts about the nephron, but before that we'll have to draw the diagram of the excretory system. Take out your pencils and I'll just finish that first. Drawing the diagram of the excretory system. Diagram drawing I already mentioned. It should be more than half a page. It should be neat, only with pencil, and try putting it a little bit towards the margin. The right kidney will be a little bit lower than the left. When you draw the right kidney, the the right kidney will be little bit lower than the left because of the position of the liver. So when you draw the diagram, take a note. Ureters that you draw, ureters you will not draw straight. Most of you draw the diagram this way. This is the kidney, and straight you draw the ureter. You will not draw the ureter straight like this. Huh? The ureters, these are all tubes of the body, all convoluted and coiled. None of the tubes in our body are straight. So we will not draw this straight structures. Okay, take a break. After the break, we will continue again. Okay. After the break, we will continue with the figure.
वही सोचा था मैं
मतलब वो दो लेकर चल मुझे पता है कौन सा लगता है ब्लू लगता है रेड लगता है
ब्लू ब्लू टू रेड होगा ना
चलो
जाओ बेटा एसिड होता है ब्लू बेस होता है
ये रिएक्शन है
आ जाओ ना
एक्सपेरिमेंट नहीं आया छोड़ बेटा से कॉन्सेंट्रेट करो
उधर नहीं होगा उधर का पार्टिकुलर नहीं लगेगा होना तो चाहिए बेसिकली ऐसे इलेक्ट्रिकल इसमें सर्किट कंप्लीट होता है जिससे हाँ वही देख के तो बस पढ़ा वही देखा अगर लाइट पे यहाँ
वो लोग के गेम में कैसा होता
है ना इधर है बस क्लिक वाला नहीं होता मतलब है उधर कुछ तो खेलने पर कुछ तो
ये बड़ा
यहाँ पे जस्ट आते वक्त
वो आएगा तो क्या करें
चलिए इधर रखिए हाँ ऊपर से तेरे नाम भी लिखना है देखा आगे से लिखना है ऐसे पीछे से देख के काटना है आई गेस पूरे आईडी कार्ड पे है थोड़े थोड़े जगह पे है मैंने देखा जो था काटेंगे भाई 10th की और मैं तो बोल रहा हूँ यूपी का एग्जाम जैसे लिखेंगे ना मॉक टेस्ट फाइनल वाले लगता है आपस हाँ छोटे छोटे हमारे हाँ दो यूनिवर्सिटी के टीम पे ऊपर है और लेफ्ट साइड पर पीछे वाली साइड पे नहीं उधर टीम पे है बड़े वाले और जस्ट लोग के बाजू वाले
हां इधर भी है
ये टीम पे और इधर एक नीचे है उधर ये साइड पर टीम इधर है थोड़ा
मेरा
उतने की पर्टिकुलर जगह पे पता है ध्यान है जिससे क्वेश्चन
पर इंटीरियर क्या इंटीरियर है
हाँ
That has